You scroll at 11:23 p.m., one thumb flick away from someone else's highlight reel, and suddenly you're smaller. That feeling? It has a name: social media comparison. But why does a few swipes make us doubt ourselves so fast? Let's unpack it. Social media comparison is when you measure your life against other people's curated moments, the vacations, the glowing selfies, the promotion posts, and you judge yourself against those edited slices. Think of social platforms like rows of mirrors, each one only reflects a chosen angle, not the whole person. This matters because the platforms we scroll most are the ones young adults and teens use constantly. Recent Pew research shows YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and similar apps remain the dominant daily hangouts for teens and young adults in the US, meaning these mirror rows are where they spend major emotional time. Gen Z doesn't just passively consume, they search on social platforms. New research finds an increasing share of Gen Z turn to social platforms first when they want answers or examples, so social feeds are now a primary lens people use to learn what success or happiness looks like. That turns curated posts into reference points, not just entertainment. Multiple peer-reviewed studies show a consistent pattern. Upward comparisons on platforms like Instagram are tied to lower self-esteem, appearance anxiety, and increased depressive symptoms for some users. In short, comparing yourself to mostly positive, edited snapshots can change how you see your own life. Studies on Instagram and social comparison, longitudinal findings on social media, and later depressive symptoms. Important nuance: frequency alone isn't the whole story. Recent longitudinal work suggests that how people use social media, passive scrolling vs active, community versus comparison, influences outcomes, so social platforms are a tool whose effect depends on how you wield them. This means there's room for smarter habits, not just doom and gloom. Here are the engine parts that turn a harmless scroll into a trap. Curated highlights: people post wins and filters, not weekly lows. You compare your full messy week to someone else's 10-second highlight. See Instagram comparison research. Algorithmic amplification: platforms surface what gets attention, dramatic, idealized content, which makes extremes feel normal. Upward social comparison: psychology shows upward comparisons, comparing to better others, increase envy and shrink self-esteem, a pattern now visible in online studies. Social search as social proof: when Gen Z searches on social for how to be successful, look good, or live better, they often find curated examples, not the backstory or trade-offs. That inflates expectations. Your 20s are a phase of identity building, career starts, relationship experiments, a period where external signals weigh heavily. Combine that internal uncertainty with an environment that constantly shows edited peers, and you get a perfect test lab for comparison anxiety. Picture Maya, 24, a grad program student juggling part-time gigs. She scrolls her feed at night. A classmate posts a promotion, filtered photos, celebratory caption. Maya knows the hard work she put in, but the post hits like an announcement of everyone else has it figured out. That feeling leads her to scroll more, compare more, sleep less, a feedback loop. This is not weakness, it's a normal human wiring reacting to a distorted environment. In the next part I'll cover practical, research-backed tactics to break the comparison loop, micro-habits, account hygiene, cognitive reframes, plus short scripts you can say to yourself when the mirror lies. I'll also give you 2 cases where limiting social time helped people's mood in controlled studies, so you get both evidence and tools. Psychologists note that simply labeling an experience, "I'm comparing myself right now," creates a mental pause, activating metacognition. That pause weakens the automatic spiral. Think of it like catching yourself in the mirror maze before you get fully lost. Research shows that exposure to appearance-focused accounts correlates with increased comparison and body dissatisfaction, while following more diverse, authentic, or inspirational creators reduces negative effects. One practical step: a monthly feed detox where you mute or unfollow accounts that consistently spark envy, and add accounts that inspire skills, humor, or education. Longitudinal studies suggest that passive browsing, scrolling without interacting, is more strongly tied to lower well-being than active engagement, commenting, messaging, creating. Turning social media into a tool for connection, instead of a silent scoreboard, reduces comparison effects. Here's a practical script you can say to yourself when envy hits. Instead of "they're ahead, I'm behind," reframe to "this shows me what's possible. My path has a different timeline." This aligns with findings that downward or lateral comparisons can buffer negative feelings, and that interpreting upward comparisons as inspiration instead of threat changes the emotional outcome. In experimental interventions where participants reduce social media time, often to about 30 minutes a day, researchers observed improved mood and reduced loneliness compared to control groups. In other words, trimming exposure, even without quitting, shows measurable mental health benefits. Morning rule: don't start the day with other people's highlight reels, wait at least 30 minutes before opening apps. Night rule: cut social 1 hour before sleep, research links pre-bed scrolling with worse sleep quality and elevated anxiety. Anchor activity: pair each scroll session with a grounding action, journaling a win, sending a real message to a friend. Imagine every post you see as a mirror, not a window. A mirror reflects something selected, not the full landscape. Each time you scroll, remind yourself, this is a mirror fragment, not their whole truth. Over time, this becomes automatic self-talk that dulls the sting of comparison. Back to Maya from part 1. After a rough week of scrolling, she does a feed detox, unfollowing 5 accounts that spark envy, adding 3 creators who share unfiltered daily struggles. She limits social to 2 15-minute windows per day. Within a week, she notices less anxiety at night. Her external world hasn't changed, but the mirrors around her have. In the final part, I'll dig into the bigger picture, how platforms are designed to fuel comparison, the role of algorithms in shaping what feels normal, and the cultural shifts around Gen Z using social as search. This will tie personal strategies to systemic forces, so you understand both the individual hacks and the larger game you're playing. Every major social platform runs on the same currency, your attention. Algorithms are optimized to keep you scrolling, not to keep you balanced. What gets surfaced? Content that sparks strong emotions, envy, or desire, because those drive clicks and time on app. That means comparison-heavy content often rises to the top by design. Curated highlight reels don't just happen, they thrive because they align with the platform's incentive structure. Research shows posts with highly positive, idealized self-presentation get more likes, shares, and algorithmic boosts. That's why you see more vacations than failures, more glow-ups than breakdowns. The algorithm doesn't show you an even slice of reality, it shows what performs. If 1 in 100 people buys a new car, but those posts get big engagement, your feed may make it look like everyone is leveling up when it's really a distorted sample. This illusion creates pressure and FOMO. Here's a new twist: Gen Z increasingly uses social platforms instead of Google for searching things like career tips, lifestyle advice, even mental health hacks. That means the curated, influencer-driven results shape what young people believe is the standard path. Your reference point isn't neutral information, it's filtered lifestyles. Add to this that the 20s are already a period of uncertainty, building identity, career, and relationships. Historically, people compared themselves to neighbors or classmates. Now, you compare yourself to millions, and usually their most polished moments. The weight is amplified. Recognizing the system helps reframe your personal struggle. It's not a personal flaw to feel inadequate after scrolling, it's a predictable human response to a profit-driven design. Once you see that, you can stop blaming yourself and start playing defense. You can choose to use social platforms as windows for learning, connection, and creativity, but you must consciously avoid treating them as perfect mirrors. Instead of asking, "Am I keeping up?" you can ask, "Does this content serve my growth?" That shift puts you back in control. Maya, our example, eventually reframes scrolling as data, not destiny. She still browses, but with filters. She asks, "What's real here? What's useful for me?" She journals wins offline and reaches out to friends directly when she feels the pull of comparison. Over time, the shadow of inadequacy shrinks. In a world of mirrors, remember, what you see is never the whole picture. The only true reflection worth measuring is the one you create.